Hello there, and welcome to this episode of making people really mad on the internet by saying that this might actually be Marvel's real-life Doomsday. Now, this is about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and let me just preface before the rage starts that I am a gigantic Marvel fan. I have been since I picked up my first comic book and lost my mind, and then wished that I could, shoot powerballs out of my hand while I was in traffic. The hard-to-swallow pill that is encased in a bottle with a label that says we will never get anything as good as the Infinity Saga ever again. That was peak comic book superhero movies. I have to break this up. Look, a lot of people have some very positive, outlooks on Marvel's Doomsday. I, unfortunately, on the other hand, am more skeptical and am questioning things that are going to happen in Doomsday. How many terrible things have we been given by Marvel over the last 4 years? There's so many unanswered questions. There's so much trash that's been released. It's hard to get behind anything new that's coming out of Marvel. Am I the only one? Am I the only one taking crazy pills?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pill!
I'm just trying to be realistic about what we can expect from Marvel's Doomsday, which is why I'm going to break this video down into 3 parts. Where we came from, where we're at, and where we're going, and how this all ties into Doomsday, because currently I feel like, I'm 6 feet under and trying to crawl my way back above ground and have faith in Marvel again. There are 2 reasons why I'm going to make you mad right now. Why would you release Endgame with added footage never before seen? They haven't stipulated whether this is brand new footage that they reshot and just spliced into Endgame, or if this is deleted footage that already exists that they are simply adding into Endgame. Number 1, it's a giant money grab.
Give me the cash!
Are you kidding me? You're re-releasing Endgame because Marvel just fired 1,000 people from their studio. They obviously aren't in the profit margins anymore, so they're gonna release Endgame to make more money. That's obviously why they are doing this. I don't understand why you have to add new content into Endgame in order to make Doomsday work. The saga for the Infinity Saga was almost perfect. Okay, you don't need to mess with that. We're gonna dial up the rage here real quick, so let's go. When you fuck with time, things go very badly. Unless you have planned very, very well for such a deep, cinematic, rich universe like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's going to be a mess. Now, before we take the rage meter up, let's just take it back 1 and say the only hope here, the only reason why I'm still invested in Marvel is because the Russo brothers have come back to direct Doomsday. Now, the Russo brothers have been responsible for creating and birthing some of the greatest superhero stories we have ever seen. They were complex, they weren't just good guy, bad guy. Incredible stuff from the Russo brothers. So if anyone can pull off Doomsday, it's gonna be them. There's a lot of theory and speculation as to what content is gonna be put into Endgame to make us lead into Doomsday. Some are saying that, there's a universe where Thanos lost Endgame, Doom comes back and kills King Thanos. There's all sorts of wild theories about what is going to happen. So to answer the question about where we came from, Infinity Saga set up Thanos. Great story. We had Loki and the TVA and the multiverse being introduced. That is a massive plot within the MCU that has sort of been swept aside. We also got to remember the Celestials from the Eternals, who clearly that's not going to play a role anymore. We're also forgetting about characters like Moon Knight, who also introduced us to a couple Celestials. What about the Eternals? I mean, sure, in A Brave New World, which was okay. I mean, they finally addressed the Celestial that was being born from Earth, saying that it was an adamantium, and, that's obviously a tie to X-Men, which is a massive rage meter that we're going to get to in just a second. In Endgame as well, we see Tony Stark go back and meet his father, and in the elevator, he's talking to his father about his wife being pregnant, and a lot of people speculating that Tony Stark was adopted and he's actually a Victor Von Doom, which is the biggest pile of shit I've ever heard in my life. I'm just gonna put it out there. You can be mad, tap the rage meter, but that's not gonna be the case. There's no way in shit they are gonna make Tony Stark adopted. It's too far gone into the if they make him adopted, that's a desperate, shitty move. There's just no ways. And also, Iron Man dead. So how are you gonna be Doctor Doom if he dead? You can't be dead. You're gonna be dead Doctor Doom. No. We gotta ask the next question, and that is where we are at currently. Click the rage meter up a couple notches here, because where we are at currently is a dumpster fire. What? 100% bona fide dumpster fire. There have been some good series and some good shows and 1 or 2 movies that have been alright. Understand this. Marvel no longer has the luxury of ignoring continuity anymore. Okay, the universe is too big for them not to write stories that all fit together. So they have to plan this correctly. And when you have a story in a saga like the multiverse saga completely fall apart, well, fuck. You got to make a plan to try and pivot to a story and a character that works correctly. Now, Doomsday is the right path, absolutely. But how they're going to go about this makes me skeptical. And let's just, like I say, let's just ramp the rage meter up here, because I might have some opinions you're probably not going to agree with. I think Fantastic Four in the MCU was a good reset point for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You could see they were trying to go back to their roots. They're trying to reset the timeline. They're trying to reset things to put it on a different path, which, you know, they just like, hey, look at this new thing while we try and make you forget about this other thing. That's what it kind of felt like. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Seeing Galactus on frame was absolutely fucking incredible. I love Galactus. And having the Celestials finally introduced into the MCU has been awesome. There's not much to talk about here. The bottom line is Marvel is currently nowhere. In my eyes, I don't have any faith and I am a diehard fan. It's much like Star Wars, and why Star Wars fans hate Star Wars, okay? Because it's been ripped apart by studios and executives who have no idea how to tell a story anymore, let alone anything original. So where we're at currently is 0 expectations. I'm trying to manage all of your expectations as Marvel fans so that when you go into the movie, you can at least be surprised and enjoy the movie for what it is. Not hype it up to an 11 out of 10, get out of the movie and be like, what the fuck was that? I don't want that feeling going out of Doomsday. Okay, I want to be pleasantly surprised, which is why my baseline is currently 0 for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as should yours be, so that we can all go back to loving Marvel as they were and give them another chance, because they do deserve a second chance. Now, I might sound like I'm being supremely negative, but it's just being realistic. My wife argues with me all the time. I am a realist. I am just looking at the facts and the plot and the stories and the comics and the source information they're pulling from and asking the questions that may cause some issues within the franchise. Here's the crux of the situation about where we're at. My friends and I have argued to death, where the conversations devolve into pure madness of us screaming over each other about Marvel's Doomsday. I've argued that X-Men is one of the biggest franchises in the Marvel Comics universe and should be so in the cinematic universe. The fact that we haven't seen any X-Men in 10 years in any movies, series, anything, is a big problem for me. And to introduce the X-Men in a 4-hour movie that's tailored around Doomsday seems like a bad idea. Obviously, I want to see the X-Men, okay? Some of the shots look incredible. And as a fan, yes, I'm gonna lose my shit when I see it in the cinema, okay? I'm just saying that it would be nice, like we did in Infinity War, where you have a slow progression and some character development and some story plot progression before we get into the fucking giant, let's put 32 characters into a movie and maybe lose the plot a little bit. Wouldn't it be wise to perhaps maybe look at an X-Men movie before Avengers Doomsday? But look what happened with the Justice League, for God's sake. Okay, granted, that was Josh Whedon and he's an idiot. And that kind of flopped. Although Zack Snyder's The Justice League was another movie altogether. Let's just turn the rage down, because I'm not trying to trigger you all. I'm just trying to ask some questions that I have about the cinematic universe that I knew and loved. If it were me, and I was in control of the MCU currently, I would make an X-Men movie first. A lot of people saying, but we don't need an origin story for the X-Men. I'm not saying that we need an origin story for X-Men. I'm just saying that we need a bit of a buffer before you throw the biggest, IP in Marvel's history into a gigantic Doomsday Avengers movie. I will make a movie about do you know how well the X-Men would I'm losing my face here. Okay, I'm losing my face. Do you know how well an X-Men movie would do? It is something we desperately need in the MCU. It would completely revitalize the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There are beloved characters within the X-Men franchise, and the fact that you are not making a single movie before Doomsday about the X-Men is a travesty. It's time to take it to max here. Robert Downey Jr. should not have been cast as Victor Von Doom and Doomsday. I said it. I don't care. I don't believe that this is the way it should be. It's a nostalgia hook that shouldn't have been done. Now, understand this here. It's fine to have the same actor play another character. Is it a wise choice? No! In the context of the multiverse, Tony Stark can never be Victor Von Doom. We could have a billion different variations of Tony Stark. He could be a girl Tony Stark, a lizard Tony Stark. Hell, he could be a 6-foot-tall, 4-armed, 3-legged, 20-eyed beast monster. But he's still Tony Stark. He can never be Victor Von Doom. As we have been told from Marvel, the anchor being in the universe is the same throughout all multiverses. They can be, like we saw in Loki, there was a billion different versions of Loki, but they were all still Loki. The same happened in Spider-Man. We saw 3 different Spider-Men, but they were all still Peter Parker. For me, casting someone who literally birthed the Marvel Cinematic Universe and making him the next big villain seems like a stupid idea. There probably are 100,000 actors out there who need a shot, who are probably incredible, that could probably pull off Doomsday better. I might break the rage meter here. I don't think Robert Downey Jr. can pull off Doomsday. And this is my opinion. This is my controversial opinion. I'm not saying the movie's gonna be bad. I'm just saying I don't think, and it's also not saying that Robert Downey Jr. isn't a good actor. He's an incredible actor, an actor of a generation. I just don't think he fits Doomsday's personality. I don't think he can pull off Doomsday as well. And for me, I judge all my movies on how good the villain is. And if you can relate to the villain, if you can at some level recognize a villain, then you have a good story. Because at the end of the day, the villain is what makes the story interesting. The villains are the interesting ones. The villains are the ones who cause problems. The villains are the ones who make you question things, and that is why I'm hesitant to see Robert Downey Jr. But that is where we're at. And now to the biggest point, which is where we're going. I have been doing a lot of reading of late to figure out what exactly the plan is going forward. There's so much speculation about how Doomsday is going to start. I think that's what a lot of people are talking about. There's a lot of opinions about what's going to happen in Doomsday and how this is all going to play out. The biggest theory is obviously Steve Rogers, which I kind of believe in. I think Steve Rogers going back in time, replacing Mjolnir and the Stones is obviously going to cause some kind of an incursion. Him going back into the timeline with Peggy, something might happen. Someone might arrive, or we might see something, someone interact with Steve and say, hey, things are about to go haywire. What's going on? That seems to me like the most plausible option currently. One of the theories is in Avengers Endgame, when we see Loki with the Tesseract and he disappears when Tony tries to get the Tesseract, that never gets addressed again. But I got to disagree and say that it does get addressed again in the Loki series, where he goes to the TVA and the TVA literally say, bro, what you doing in these timelines? You got to come with us and fix the shit because you fucked it up. So, the MCU is obviously undoubtedly from the comics. This is where it came from. And they obviously take reference from the comics in order to make all of these shows, movies, TV shows, all of that jazz. Okay? So, I think in Endgame, they did that really well. They took specific reference points from specific comics and we were like, we want that piece. Let's build a movie around that comic and this comic and that shot and this double page spread looks amazing. Let's put that in the comic. That all worked really well. But after Phase 5, I don't think a lot of the directors and creators and writers followed the source material very well, which is why that phase was a complete nightmare to watch because it was all over the place. So there's also a theory out there with, at the end of Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom or Doomsday, Franklin Richards is holding his face. And, you know, it's saying that when Steve went on the incursions at the end of Endgame to return the stones and Mew Mew, along the lines he encountered Doom, and Doom's son and wife were killed. And when he sees Franklin again, it's like he saw his own son. I don't know if that's going to play out, but a lot of the trailers we have seen, there's a lot of stuff revolving around the children of the heroes. So that does bring up some interesting points that Doom might be crossing the multiverse to find different children or be looking for another version of his son. I don't know. What's going to happen with Wanda? What's going to happen with Doctor Strange? Are we going to see Spider-Man? Is the X-Men going to be there? How are the X-Men going to play a role? Is the multiverse still a thing? Is Doomsday fucking with the multiverse, or is it just one Doom? Is it the Doom above all other Dooms? Does Doom come back in Endgame to kill Thanos? There's so many questions and speculations out there. I don't know what's going to happen. Do you? Do you have any crazy theories about what's going to happen? I'm hoping it's going to be good. That's all I care about. I'm going to be talking more about Doomsday as we go. There are trailers that are coming out, and I'm definitely going to be talking about that. So, with where we're going now, it seems like they are going more towards taking the source material again and working the movies around that, which is why the MCU and the Infinity Saga worked so well in the first place. Now, there are a couple comics that may play a role in how Doomsday turns out. Number one being Secret Wars. Okay, I've read this comic again, and it is freaking incredible. It's the whole saga. It is absolutely mind-blowing. There's also bits about what version of Doom we are going to get. We have a Doom above all Dooms. And what this variant of Doom does is he's going around the multiverse and finding variants of himself and then doing horrific things to them and then subjugating them to make them do his bidding. It's a wild version of Doctor Doom, but it's a very cool story. Now, that's also... Does that not remind you of something? Does it not maybe ring a bell? Does Kang not maybe come to mind when we saw Kang with all his variants at the end of Quantumania? I don't know how the shitballs they're going to put this all together. Feels like a last stab to bring the MCU back from the dead. It really does. So they gotta be obviously very clever. And the Russo brothers are going to do this right. I'm confident in the fact that the Russo brothers will do it right. I say that I'm fuck Marvel and I'm not going to watch another Marvel movie again, but I sure as hell am going to watch Doomsday. And I'm very excited to see how they do this and how they pull this off. Oh man, there's so many unanswered questions that we have in the MCU that are really causing problems for me. If the movie doesn't do well, I think Marvel's in trouble. Like I said when the Rage Meter was high, we gotta have an X-Men movie, bro. I need to see that shit, bro. Now, we're not even getting an X-Men movie before Secret Wars, so I don't know, guys. This is just my random ranting, okay? I'm not trying to throw shade at Marvel. I'm just trying to ask the questions about why I'm hesitant, why I'm skeptical about Avengers Doomsday right now, and manage expectations. That's what this video is all about. To manage your expectations of Doomsday. Do you really think they're going to pull Doomsday off? I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm just asking the questions, okay? Because I'm so invested, I don't want to be let down again. And the problem with fans is, we get so hopped up and we have all these theories and questions about what we want to see in the movies, and then it never ends up happening, and then we get disappointed, and then it's the slippery slope downwards. It's exactly like what happened with Star Wars, and I don't want that to happen to the MCU. So, what are your thoughts? Do you think Doomsday is going to be the last shot Marvel is going to take? Or do you think this is going to be another 2 billion beat Endgame kind of movie? Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, bye.